That's right, people. We're back 4 weeks in a row. Steve and I are on a roll. We're going to keep providing you information about Steel Challenge. Steve, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Jeff, how you doing?
Oh man, it's been a great weekend for me. Got a lot of shooting. We had our Saturday night 4-stager at the WAC. I was fortunate enough to come away top shooter in that and rimfire pistol. And I was shooting my backup gun. My main gun was giving me some problems during the week, and I called the manufacturer, and I'm not afraid to say it was Volkorten. And I talked to a gentleman there and told him I think it was the hammer spring, and they sent me a brand new one with a return for the old one. And I put it in today and ran that gun, and it ran 100%. Everything went bang.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's refreshing, as you well know, when you've got you spend the money on these guns that you've got the manufacturers that back them up. So thank you to Volkorten and everyone there who ensured I was going to have a 100% functioning gun again. So that was good. How about you? Did you get to do any shooting this weekend?
It's a funny story. So I've been shooting quite a bit for the last couple weeks, doing some trying to get back at it and throw up some sub 60 times here, hopefully pretty soon. And so took a little bit of break from that today. Richard Peterson came over, Caleb's dad, and got out the couple of precision guns. I got a Voodoo, a V22, and then a Quartzit Summit, and both topped off with some Strike Eagles on there. Beautiful glass. And shot the Voodoo first, man. It's weird because after doing some action speed shooting and all that kind of stuff, well, you don't pull the trigger quite as fast with like a Voodoo. And so we had targets out at 50 yards and wanted to put some on paper, and shot about 30 rounds, and then you could see the group starting to dial in, shoot an Ely match, which is not inexpensive, but man, is it money well spent. So Richard was shooting, and he keyholed 3 shots at 50 yards. I'm sorry, there was 5 shots, and we're shooting 10 shots at a time because it's how much a magazine holds. And
sure,
we walked down there, I'm like, holy cow, you stick a spent casing right in between the 3 shots. So I don't know what the head of a 22 is, but that's just about the grouping size.
Wow.
And so we get back there, and he kind of looked at, I said, you got to shoot the next 5. He kind of looked at me. He's like, why don't you shoot him? I'm like, all right, challenge accepted. And so I shot 5 more rounds and pretty much put them all through the same hole. There's one that looked like elongated one of the holes just a little bit. So 2 shooters, 10 rounds, and I'll post a picture out there at 50 yards. Man, it's woo. I don't know. Yeah, I've never been that excited about shooting any sort of precision. Haven't spent a lot of time doing it, but I called my wife and 2 girls and out of the house. And, no, you got to see this. You guys, this is awesome. And of course they don't know what they're looking at outside of, boy, that target's pretty far away. That's a little hole you got there. No, it's 10 like rounds. They're like,
you're looking
wow.
at you, and they're looking at it and going, okay, you hit it once, big deal.
Exactly. No, we shot 10. You want to do it? Thank God they said no, because that Ely match is worth the money, but it's about 30 cents a round, somewhere in there. So
now,
anyway,
is that cool. A subsonic round?
I'd have to double check. I believe that it is. It may be going. I was just gonna make up a number. Yeah, I don't have. Let me see if I've got it here.
And the reason I ask is because there's a couple of precision shooters that I know that are shooting precision 22, and they all shoot subsonic for the accuracy of the bullet not breaking the sound barrier.
It's a flat nose. It's a 40 grain. I'd have to get the data. I believe it is a subsonic round.
Yeah, I would bet it is.
I was talking to the Ely guys, and they've said that they've tested some force, which is high velocity.
Yeah.
And I don't know if something's changed with the difference in the ammo or whatever. They said, no, there's plenty of guys that get good groups out of, shooting force and stuff like that. But one of the things I did notice, because I didn't have any precision style ammo, the bench rester, everybody knows 10x. Didn't have any
Right.
of that, but the wall thickness or the case thickness on the contact and force is a little bit, the outside diameter is just a little bit bigger, or maybe it's just a little bit thicker of a case. And so it was a little bit troublesome, kind of chambering some of those rounds and some of these precision guns. But yeah, the match just went right in there. So man, I'm a fan, but I'll post a picture out in the podcast group later. But man, it was pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting.
Well, that'll be great. And for those listening, and I posted something last week on our episode. We're only going to be posting at least directly to the podcast page. So please, if you're listening and you want to get that update from Facebook, subscribe to that. It is a closed group, but we know who we are, and we'll let you in and there. Now, occasionally Steve will repost it on his page, and sometimes I will do the same thing, but we're not going through the giant postings. And of course, you can look at, we post this on, like I think we said, SoundCloud, it's on iTunes, and it's also, I believe, on Stitcher. So those are all the places where you can get this podcast. So with Steve, you mentioned sub 60. And interestingly enough, I was looking at the A5 results, and the top 4 times in that match were all sub 60.
Dang, that's awesome.
But you know what makes it interesting about that?
Talk to me.
It's all the same person.
Really?
Jesse Misko cleaned up at this match. He has the top
Awesome.
4 times. He shot a 55-38 in PCCO, a 56-68 in RFRI, a 58-69 in RFPO, and a 59-07 in RFRO.
That's smoking. Congrats, Jesse.
And not to be outdone, right behind him in RFRO, Lance Jr. with a 60-46. So
that's smoking fast.
There were some fast times there, but kudos to Steve Wright and the entire team. We know a lot of them. A lot of them, travel around, do a lot of shooting, do a lot of work at the World Speed Shoot. In fact, I think Speed Option should be called the Area 5 crew.
That's true.
That's who's on that stage. But their match had an official count of 369 guns.
I saw that. That's amazing. Good for those guys. That's great.
Oh, absolutely.
And Jeff, I was looking earlier. One of our very own, Randall Miller, shot a personal best in rimfire rifle open. Shot a 65 and some change. Is that crazy?
She's killing it. I'm glad I'm not shooting rifle right now.
Woo! It's on fire.
I've always joked about, maybe I'll go to a match and identify as a girl or a lady, but I just get my butt kicked there too. So
probably so. So congratulations, Randall. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, looking here, let's see here, RFRO, and we'll look at category leaders. She ended up cranking a 65-57.
That's awesome.
That is smoking. That is just smoking it. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm just looking here that when you look at the page, it's got a lot of data, but yeah, it's just some phenomenal times on these stages. That's fantastic. And, not to be outdone, when you look at this match too, and this is something that I've said a lot, we had, 369 shooters at this match, very heavily attended by senior, super senior, distinguished senior, even the juniors, just a huge amount of participation in the categories, and that's fantastic to see. And speaking of categories and matches like this, Zach and I are working up a proposal for a slot policy for this year. Can't talk about what the logic is behind it yet because we got to get it approved. But we've been running the numbers on the World Speed Shoot and the completed area matches, to provide that to the board, to give them an idea of, how many slots would be given out for the 2024 World Speed Shoot. So keep an eye on the board minutes. I'm not sure when that's going to be presented, but again, we're pulling together the numbers for that.
Awesome. Look forward to it. When do you think it will go to the board?
I think maybe the end of this month we'll be able to get it on the agenda. I'm not sure. We definitely don't want to waste time waiting. So I think after Zach and I've written, of course, a program that pulls in all the data and calculates it. And there's little anomalies that we actually had this happen at Area 3, where an unclassed shooter won the carry optics division.
Interesting.
Which gives that person, should there be the slot policy, they would more than likely earn a slot. But we don't award anything for the U class. You must be a classified shooter. And of course, this person is now a classified shooter after shooting that match and having 8 in there. So that threw a little loop into my program, and had to fix that when I looked at giving out awards, and U's were showing up, or not awards, slots. So, but yeah, looking here, just some, top of the names here, top 10 was filled out by Jesse, Lance Jr., Carly Chadwick, Tanner Gibson, and Adam Reno in the top 10 overall. And then you just go down the line, and it's just a who's who of people who we know. In fact, as I'm going down here, I'm getting into the 30s before I'm still like seeing people that we know, which is fantastic to see them, shooting their area matches and attending those. And again, Steve and the crew, I think Steve might've been the range master. I think Janice was actually the match director for this match. Not 100% sure on that, but to put this match off without what looks like to be without a hitch, you never know what's going on. I did see some pictures. I think they got a little wet today. Little liquid sunshine dropped on them.
Keeps them honest, right?
Yes, exactly. So what do you got coming up this week? You got much going on shooting wise?
Yeah, a little bit of training, trying to shoot 2 to 3 days a week, and get my eyes back to where they once were. But the bifocals I'm not sure if that's helping or hurting my game. But the other thing that I've been doing, and I think you and I may have talked about this for the last 6 months or so, maybe I mentioned on a previous podcast, but I've been playing tennis for the last 6 months and lost about just over 20 pounds. And so I actually forwent a local match on Saturday, a 6-stager to play tennis, which has been good. So I enjoy that, and it's it's kind of like you're exercising, and
I don't like you're exercising. I got a feeling if I got out there, it would be like, okay, we got to do this how many more times, and for like a set, and then how many for a minute? No, I'm give me 3 games, I'm done.
Hey, after 2 hours, like, hey, I'm tired, but you don't feel like you're exercising, I guess is my point. So
okay.
Yeah, I've been playing 2-3 times a week as well. So no, it's been good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've got a couple of my standing classes this week, and I'll try to get a little shooting in myself. I think this week we're working accelerator, which pretty much ate my lunch at the Worlds and ate my lunch at the match today. And it's one of those things where I wish I could blame the gun, but I shot everything else pretty well. It was my brain not focusing on the dot on the plate, and we all get there. So accelerator is actually a pretty interesting stage. It's definitely in the top 4 fastest stages, and I think that over the course of the last couple of years, a lot of people have proved that you can shoot it in the 6s. The last time I shot it at a match here, not last weekend, the weekend before, shot a 709. I felt like I could have pushed it a little bit more, and I think the other thing that I've started to
implement a little bit more into my regimen. I need to do more of it as dry firing. It's interesting when you look at the dry fire targets like Bill Duda's go fast don't suck targets.
Yep.
I think the interesting part, and we talked about this maybe a year or two ago, the interesting part is once you look at the dry fire targets, the aspect ratio of what the stage looks like in 2 dimensions, it's very interesting how big or how small those targets are from stage to stage when you're standing in the quote unquote box, at least in my basement. An accelerator definitely has some of the largest plates. Don't get me wrong, the first shots, are plate 1's not overly large, and plate 3 is a little bit smaller, but they're definitely a lot bigger than some of the other stages you go out and shoot, like even the back plate on speed option or some of those. But yeah, accelerators definitely got some bigger plates, and definitely encourage people to push the pace a little bit more on accelerator.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one of the things I always show my students in Showdown is a great one for doing this. Everybody treats, if you're shooting it, say, from the left box, and you're shooting the big plate number 1 first, and then of course the 10-inch plate as your second shot. A lot of people are willing to treat that as, a drive-by, maybe not a hard drive-by, but a soft drive-by. But if you get in the right position, now you have to be outside the boxes, and you line up the 10-inch plates on the 12-inch plates, it turns out, except for the corners, they're visually the same plate. You're shooting the same aspect. And so this is something that I've started incorporated into my training with myself and with my students is if it visually is the same, then you should be treating it the same way.
Sure.
Just because it's at 25 yards is irrelevant.
Yep.
So, a lot of people will be, I've kind of changed my shooting stature, or sorry, rewind that. I might delete that. I might leave it in. I don't know. I'm too lazy to edit these things. I've changed my shooting order on both Roundabout and Showdown after watching a lot of the fastest people shoot it in at the Worlds. And so again, in Showdown, if you want to number, the way I number the plates is, of course, the big one in the back is 1, the small one in the front is 2, the small one in front is 3, the big one in the back is 4. I'm actually now shooting it 1, 2, 3, 4 stop. Driving across. And I always used to say, I shoot like molasses right to left. And I stopped using that as an excuse and going, well, if this is going to be the faster way to shoot it, then you better learn how to shoot it fast that way.
Right, for sure.
And, I think that's something that a lot of people out there, you get stuck in a rut in how you shoot it. And sometimes a change, even if it might not be, quote unquote, one of the most efficient methods. I mean, if you think about it, coming off of plate 2, you have to go all the way out to plate 3. And whether you go 3-4 or 4-3, the gun's got to go out there. It just depends on, are you going to shoot through plate 3 or plate 4 going left to right or right to left?
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does.
And of course, it was funny. I was testing my students on how I number Roundabout. So let's ask the question to you. The back right plate in Roundabout.
It's plate 3.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And for all those people who are jumping up and down right now going, no, that's 4. It's not, it's 3.
The way that Dave Savigny back in the day taught me is you always count left to right as you visually see him. and don't include the stop plate.
Yep. And the way that I also do that is you consider it if you're on an even plane, meaning if you're looking at it in 2 dimensions. So if you look, because you can sit there and you go, well, if I start on the right side in showdown, how do I see these plates? I see I see plate 2 as the furthest right plate, but it's how you look at it in 2 planes instead of 3.
Yep,
if that makes any sense.
it does.
And most of them number easy. Those are roundabouts 1 because they're both at that 8 foot off of the center to the right. It throws any it's like, I think we can all agree on 5 to go which plate is 1 and which plate is 4. Is that a fair assessment?
Yep.
Pendulum, smoke and hope, those are pretty straightforward to figure out.
Pretty obvious. Jeff, you know what I was thinking about?
What's that?
I think we should do a segment during every podcast and talk about in a little bit of detail about troubleshooting gun problems.
I love the idea.
What I've come to learn over the course of time, you've been doing this as long as, guys like you and me have been doing it. You've seen a lot of stuff. And I'd hate to bombard one podcast with 2 issues, but okay, Jeff, I'm going to bombard the podcast with 2 issues. So,
hey, we got time. Let's hear it.
Okay. So the first issue had a guy that was having like a bolt drag issue with a Volquartsen upper and a tandem cross lower. So it's a Volkraken. Wade, you can thank Wade Shaner for that. I think I pay him like a penny every time I use the term Volkraken. Probably do.
He gets a little royalty on that one.
I do. Thanks, Wade. Anyway, so he was having just the gun wasn't, cycling as smooth and wasn't running as well, so on and so forth. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, is it a relatively new bolt you got in there? And he said, yeah, how'd you know? And I said, well, reach out to Volquartsen and tell them what's going on. And they'll either send you or you have to buy a new trigger bar. And he goes, well, why do you know that? Well, I saw a lot of Volquartsen uppers, and a lot of people put them on tandem cross lowers. So what had happened was there was a slight modification to a Volquartsen bolt that had happened, and again, this is from both the Volquartsen side as well as the tandem cross side. I can send you an email that walks you through 8 pages of dialogue and pictures and contact points. And
math is hard, and so is reading. So you tell us a story instead.
Yeah, right. And so there was a couple of small changes that were made to the Volquartsen bolts, whether intentional or not. But what it did is it changed the contact point of where the bolt is riding on the trigger bar. And so I'm sitting here looking at one right now, Volquartsen trigger bar. So if you have that issue and you've got a newer Volquartsen bolt, you may have to just get a new trigger bar. And so
is this with, like if I were to get a new bolt for my Scorpion, would I possibly experience the same situation, or is it just when we're looking at combining companies' products?
Combining companies' products.
Okay. That's fair.
Is what I've been told thus far.
Right.
Yep.
And that's fair. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. A lot of people do, a lot of builds on their own, and they're getting parts. And so this is really good, and it's funny, just to expound on the whole topic of, diagnosing stuff. I am done using the excuse, well, it's 22, it's not reliable. Unless I put like 3 hits on a round that doesn't go off, it's not the ammo, it's the gun.
Yeah.
And I've had some fun. I don't know, a year or 2 ago, I'd probably it's like I would fire it and it would go click, and I would eject it and grab that round and put it back in the gun with it slightly turned. I had like a crown. It looked like a flower on top.
It's a daisy.
I'm like, okay, this was the ammo. But I had an issue. I had an issue with the Volquartsen rifle. When I started shooting that again, started getting some failure to fires, and you you have to take a systematic approach at looking at it. And the first thing I did was I took the bolt apart and I looked at the firing pin and I went,
Yep.
yeah, this is one problem right here.
Right.
And so I changed that out, and I was still wasn't as bad, but one is bad if you're in a match. If you have one
sure.
failure to fire. And that's when I then changed out the hammer spring and ran like a champ after that.
Yep. And despite popular opinion, there is preventive maintenance that should be done on your firearms.
Yes.
And I'm the worst one for it, Jeff. I've told people before, hey, if a gun stops running, I'll just get another one, that kind of thing. But it's
sorry. See that safe, that third safe over there? That's just full of dirty guns I don't want to clean.
Actually, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Jeff.
So maybe that's what I'll do is I'll come up and I'll offer to clean all your guns for you and do visual inspections on them and put them all back together for a day of training. Is that a fair deal?
That's not the worst offer I've had today. But I would say
one of the other segments that we do. Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say, if you do have issues like that, probably the best place right now to post it is probably on Rimfire Race Guns. There's
absolutely
quality gunsmiths that are there. I know some of them are posting on the Ruger Mark 1, 2, 3, 4 page, that kind of thing. But yeah, post them out on Rimfire Race Guns. Don't feel like you're in this alone. There's a lot of things. There are a lot of variables, a lot of things you can check. Remind me and I'll go through the other issue that I helped diagnose from 800 miles away the other day. We'll talk about that one next week. But yeah, there's a lot of us that have been through, maybe not seen all the exact issues, but certainly seen more than a couple in our time.
Absolutely.
So post them out there and we'll eyeball.
When you look at all the guns, including center fire, there's always things you can be looking at. I had an issue with my single stack open gun.
Mm-hmm.
I just could not get it to cycle. And after talking with a number of people and then doing some research on what the difference between a fast burning and a slow burning powder and what it does with regards to actuating a slide.
Yeah.
I went to a slower burning powder and the gun runs like a champ now.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there's definitely a lot of that. So yeah, Rimfire Race Guns is a great resource. Like you say, there's a lot of people out there. And some are right and some are wrong. And, it's sometimes it's tough to, you see a picture, what's wrong with this? And, you're going to get a lot of different ideas and answers, and some are going to be right and some are going to be wrong. And, I think that's the other thing that I always try to teach my students is learn how to take apart your gun, learn how to clean it for just that reason. You can do the visual inspections. You can find,
for sure,
one of the ones I found last year, and it would have been a catastrophic failure had it broken while running, was the half moon on the recoil spring rod on a kind of standard
45.
Yes.
Yep.
It was no longer a nice half moon. It was cracked, and it was about to probably break. And call the manufacturer, hey, send me a couple of these, how much? Put them in the mail, here's my credit card, boom, fixed. And I guess the other, I'm sure you have a toolbox full of parts.
I've got a couple areas of the house, the shop, the basement. I got parts there. I've got a basket of parts over here for JP. I got some different weights. I've got recoil springs. I got some triggers. What do you need?
My point in this is that when you find something that's broken, buy at least 2 if you can. So you can replace the part that's broken, and then you have a spare for if the new one goes down to keep you running to then give you an opportunity to order more.
Or you just buy a spare gun or two, and then
Well,
if
yeah.
that one breaks, you can.
That's Safe 4. Safe 4 is all the guns that have minor issues and don't run, and
Yeah.
you just don't feel like fixing them right now.
That's pretty funny.
Well, let me just recap here, looking at the major match schedule. Next weekend, Missouri State Steel Championships, put on by the Central Ozark Practical Shooters. Again, end of June, Michigan State Steel Challenge Championships, and that's the one that is supporting the Ryan Rocks Outdoor Adventures, which we've talked about, and that's pretty cool. Then we got a couple of weeks off of major matches, and about towards the end of July 20th, that weekend, we have the Area 8 Steel Challenge Championships in Wampum, Pennsylvania. So I'm sure you're going to see a lot of our northern friends going up to shoot that. And then that same weekend, if you want to go further north, you can go to Canada, Alberta, and the Canadian National Steel Challenge Championships are that weekend.
Sounds
and
cold.
then, yeah, first weekend in August, going to be another busy weekend for shooting. You've got the Area 7 Steel Challenge Championship sponsored by Tandem Cross. That's going to be in Dunbarton, New Hampshire. And then that same weekend in Eaton, Colorado, we have the Colorado State Steel Challenge Championships. So there's a lot coming up.
That's awesome.
And I want to, being that we're both in Area 6, I want to do a shout out to Jamie Mondi and crew for taking on the responsibility of running that match. It's been run great over at Volusia for the last couple of years. Sign up is light right now. So I want everybody listening who is thinking about going and shooting Area 6 to please get signed up and get your slots locked in. And that includes you, Steve. You better be there.
Man, you know what I forgot until I got about 18 people that texted me yesterday, and you know who you are, and I thank you, is the World Rimfire match opened up yesterday.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's going to be
in the historic
Cavern
Cove, Alabama. That's so when I first started shooting a lot, 2016. So I think I was there 16, 17, maybe 18. Then I went to, I don't know, someplace else, an old fort, and then it's been at
other place it doesn't matter, and a third place it
yeah,
doesn't matter.
No, yeah, that's the year that we don't really want to talk about in Missouri. That was a bad deal. Anyway, and then the folks up at Orsa, fantastic. John Suter and those guys did a great job the last 2 years with it. And then it's coming back to where I consider home, because that's where it first was when I started shooting, Cavern Cove, Alabama. And I think when I signed up, there's only 70 some more spots open. So
yeah, that match usually fills up.
You better sign up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So all right. Well, Steve, we're making these short and sweet. I think we got a good one in the can here. What do you feel? You got anything else you want to tell the people?
Hey, give me one more second. Let's spend 38 seconds on it. Can you talk about when the USPSA president election starts? Is it next week?
That election cycle starts June 15th.
Okay.
So that would be this coming week.
Okay.
I know that this year there are also a bunch of area director voting. I know Area 6 definitely has a director's vote, and there may be others. I was listening to another podcast, and there are pages on the USPSA site, which you can go to, and I'm actually going there right now to see if I can find out board objective matchbook. There should be something here. I will have to find it. We'll post it on the Facebook page, but there is a way that you can go to the USPSA site and get a breakdown of all of the people running for the different positions.
And I'm sure
Okay.
it's in my USPSA magazine that's been sitting on my counter for the last, I don't know how long it's been there, Jeff, but it's been more than a couple days.
I did see a number of when I thumbed through it to see because I'm like everybody, you thumb through and you look for any pictures you might be in or any pictures you know of the people. Then you go back and you read the articles later. Like I said, reading is hard.
That's pretty funny.
Yes, but here we go. If you go under media and info, there is a link for USPSA elections, and in there you've got the elections for president, which has a bunch of information on that, and more importantly, the candidates. So let's just give those candidates a shout out. Todd Jarrett, Steve Moneypenny, Dexter Lopez, Luigi Lee, Steve Wright, Ray Hurst, and on the page is still Yi Min. I know he has stepped down as the president at the current time. I'm not sure if he's going to be running for president again. And then there's also information on the page with the Area 6 director, which right now that's going to be Ben Berry, Kyle Stevens, and Matt Hopkins. And then finally, Area 8 is also got elections. And those candidates are Vincent Lucetti and Russell Fortney. So if you go there, all of these, at least most of them, have links with each candidate's position, with the questions that were asked, to help you better decide who you choose to vote for. And speaking of voting, voting is usually abysmal. So I'd like to reach out to everyone who's listening to this podcast that is eligible to vote based on the bylaws. And they did just make a minor change to the bylaws dealing with any lapsed memberships to make sure we had enough people to vote. But please take the opportunity to read those Q&As and those bylines and bios on the candidates and make your decision. And when you get the email to vote, please vote. Please vote.
Awesome.
This, as a person, I know who I'm voting for, but as the podcast, I would just ask that you go out there and, read the bios and make a decision and vote. Because it matters. It matters. And there's a lot of candidates out there.
Well, I think that's our public service announcement for the month. Yeah, it's tough to really hear how many people actually do vote. So your vote matters. So same. I'm not going to tell anybody how to vote, but strongly encourage people to vote. It's our president to pick, and you gotta do your thing.
Yep, sounds good.
All right,
All right, Steve. Well, this sounded really good. We'll get this mastered and get this out tonight. But you know how we end everyone. Give them that discount code.
Yeah, go out to ragestore.net and use discount code STPodcast10.
All right, we'll talk to you next week, Steve.
Good talking with you. We'll see you, man.
Bye-bye.